since 2018 to go into overtime, or 2017 to go into overtime. Only the second Super Bowl in history to go into overtime. So just based on that alone, it was exciting, but it really wasn't exciting in my opinion until the second half. So if you missed the game, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. They are your 2024 Super Bowl champions, beating the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in overtime. And this will be the Chiefs' third Super Bowl in the last 5 years and officially solidifies them as the NFL's new dynasty. So the game started off really slow, like really, really slow. At halftime, it was only a 10-3 game, and it was giving me shades of the 2019 Super Bowl when the Patriots beat the Rams, and it was something like 10-3 or 13-3. Yeah, that was one of the slowest games in Super Bowl history. Luckily, this game really picked up after the halftime show. Maybe Usher was able to rejuvenate some energy into the Chiefs. But, yeah, it was a rough first half. I think the first half was pretty much the story of the 49ers. They came out. Christian McCaffrey was assertive. Brock Purdy was throwing great. Brock Purdy outperformed Patrick Mahomes without a doubt in that first half, and he arguably outperformed him the whole game. He completed a slightly better percentage of his passes, threw for less yards, but Patrick Mahomes came to play in that second half, and he shined. But in the first half, it was the Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey show. And Patrick Mahomes actually in the first half, first quarter I believe it was, he made this insane like almost 70-yard catch or throw. And immediately after that, the Chiefs fumbled the ball in the red zone, and it was just the biggest discrepancy between a great play followed up immediately by a horrible play that I may have ever seen in my time watching sports. At least that really sticks out off the top of my head, because that was like the Chiefs' second or third possession of the entire game. So you're sitting there and Mahomes throws like a 70-yard bomb, and it's like, okay, wow, the Chiefs are really about to get it going. And then they just immediately, Pacheco fumbles the ball the next drive, and it pretty much killed the Chiefs' momentum for the rest of the first half. They got that play made Travis Kelce so mad because for whatever reason, Travis Kelce was on the sidelines that he ran over and basically shoved Andy Reid and started yelling at his face. One of his teammates had to pull him back, and that had a lot of people talking on Twitter about whether or not Andy Reid should have benched Travis Kelce for the rest of the game. And I understand where you're coming from like that, because at the end of the day, as a coach, you have to show that you're the one in control, and you have to show that no matter what the stage is, no matter how big of a name the player is, you have to act professionally. And like, I get that, but at the same time, when you're in the Super Bowl, you kind of have to make exceptions for those superstars. I was talking with Levi during the game, and I really liked what he said. First off, Andy Reid did nothing. He acted like it didn't happen. Travis Kelce was in the next time the Chiefs played, and clearly they won, so I don't think this will be a big deal. Like, Travis Kelce will probably apologize to Andy Reid sometime tonight or tomorrow if he hasn't already, and it'll be the end of it, because winning makes all wounds go away. But had they lost this game, then I feel like that moment right there would have been a major talking point going out of the game. So Andy Reid and Travis Kelce both should be grateful that they won, and this is something that people will not be talking about next week, or at least I don't think they will. But Levi said that Andy Reid should have benched him for the rest of the first half, and I think that would have been a good middle ground where you can send a message, but also, I mean, you're in the Super Bowl. You're here to win. Like, you don't want to jeopardize everybody's season because of a half-second moment of rage. So I think that Andy Reid should have been a little harder on Kelsey. I mean, maybe they can work something out behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, whatever he did worked, and I don't think it'll keep him up at night. But I couldn't believe Travis Kelsey did that. That's probably the most intense player-coach moment I've ever seen in sports that I can think of. But like I said, the second half, the Chiefs actually showed up. Mahomes, he started really looking like Patrick Mahomes. The first half of the game, he looked human for once. And I say for once, it actually worried me for his sake that it was going to become a pattern of Patrick Mahomes kind of not playing great in the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl, he won the first go-around. He didn't play that good. Going into this game, I believe he has thrown 5 touchdowns and 4 picks. In this game, he threw 1 pick and 2 touchdowns. So that would bring his all-time rate up to 7 touchdowns and 5 picks. So not a great ratio there, but a win's a win. He's got 3 rings, and that's all anybody should care about. Now, the play that changed the entire trajectory of this game was the 49ers had a chance to kick a field goal, and they quite simply had it blocked. And if that field goal hadn't have been blocked, then they would have won. So unfortunately for the 49ers, the Chiefs were able to get a hand on it, and that was that. The Super Bowl got off to a really quick start, though, with the 49ers kicker who eventually had his kick blocked. His last name was Moody. I don't know his first name, but he set the NFL record for the longest kick in the Super Bowl and quickly had his record broken 2 quarters later by the Chiefs kicker. So the first kick was a 55-yard kick, and then the Chiefs kicker had a 57-yard kick. So there were some pretty long-distance field goals attempted. Both went in. The only kick that I can think of that didn't go in was like a 28-yard attempt that got blocked, and that changed the whole game. So, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. The announcers were trying to pin the kick getting blocked on the kicker. He said it came out low, Tony Romo did, so there might be some truth to that, but at the end of the day, that was just a really good play by the Chiefs special team there. Now, Taylor Swift, her presence was made very known during this game. I kept track throughout of how many times the camera would pan over to her, and at the end of the game, I counted 12 times. I might have missed a couple. So that was about what I was expecting. I was anticipating anywhere from the 10 to 15 range, and sure enough, it ended up right in the middle. So I'm glad I got that prediction right. I thought about posting it on our social media. I should have. The predictions we did post, me and Levi did on social media, were partly right. We both picked the Chiefs, so that turned out correct. However, our score projections were way under the radar. I don't know if anybody predicted the game to be this low scoring. And, I mean, it's always good to have a defensive duking it out kind of game, but when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you don't expect to see that. So did not take that into account for my projections. Now, the halftime show I thought was pretty mid. I don't know of anybody who was just dying to see Usher perform. It made me feel like this was 2004 and not 2024. Though I think that what that really means is the millennials are old now, so you're going to start to see halftime shows catered to their tastes. Like in the late 2009s, or like that late 2009 era, there were a lot of like Paul McCartney, Rolling Stones, like just old school rock acts, because they always try to appeal to the wider, like middle-aged to like older people audience. So you're starting to see that they had like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg a couple years back. They had, Usher now. So I think we're going to start to see a lot of like late 90s, early 2000s acts starting to do the halftime show, which I don't get. Like, I kind of do, kind of don't. So I get that when you're doing a halftime show, you don't want to be such a prisoner of the moment that in like 10, 15 years when people look back, it's like, who was that person? It's kind of like when LMFAO was on the halftime show in like 2011, which I still love LMFAO for the nostalgia of it, but they're not exactly on the same planet as a Rihanna or a Dr. Dre or a Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson type performer that have done halftime shows. So you don't want it to be like somebody that was super huge in like 2015 and nobody cares about them 5 years down the road. But I feel like there's a lot of current artists who clearly will stand the test of time that haven't got the Super Bowl treatment. Like Drake has never done a halftime show. Taylor Swift, if Taylor Swift's going to be there, you might as well ask her if she wants to come down from the skybox for about 30 minutes and put on a concert. So I think Taylor Swift will get the halftime show next year. As much as her and the NFL have been like this season, it's just too easy of an opportunity for both of them to not do it. But also, Jay-Z's never done a halftime show. Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, like just so many big names haven't got around to it. Justin Bieber. A lot of people were saying Justin Bieber was going to show up tonight because him and Usher are really good friends and frequent collaborators, but that didn't happen. Now, I don't know. I thought a lot of the surprise appearances kind of fell flat. I didn't recognize Alicia Keys when she first came out. I had to go on Twitter to find out who that was. Same thing with the woman playing the guitar. Apparently her stage name is called like Her. I had no idea who that was, and I still don't. Alicia Keys, I saw her, and I was like, is that Alicia Keys? Then I went on Twitter, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's who that is. But her, I have no idea who that is. Then, like, Lil Jon and Ludacris, that was cool. That was probably the only part of the halftime show that I got excited for was when Lil Jon come out, because you always love it when he hits you with a couple yes, but that's just the 2000s kid in me. As for what this Super Bowl means for the NFL and the legacy of those involved, I think Kyle Shanahan lost another Super Bowl in overtime. And I don't know, I feel bad. He's a great coach, but this is his third crack at the big time winning the Super Bowl. And the first time he was the Falcons coordinator, the last two times he was a head coach. He's lost all three times. He's going to get the loser rep now. And that's a shame because, like I said, he's a really good coach. But I think he had the most to lose from this game, and he lost. So there's that. Patrick Mahomes, as far as I'm concerned, he has officially passed Peyton Manning in my book to become the third greatest quarterback of all time. So now the race is on between him and Joe Montana to see who comes in second place. Now I've seen a lot of commentators going out there already trying to start some Mahomes-Brady debate like it's the new age football version of LeBron and Jordan. They can all shut up. Tom Brady hasn't been retired for 2 whole seasons, and they're already trying to start some narrative and dethrone him as the GOAT. Like, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Wake me up when Patrick Mahomes gets like 6 or 7 MVPs and 2 more Super Bowls. Then we can have this conversation. Until then, I'm not gonna give that conversation any more credit than I think it's due. Now, next time I got Levi, I might ask him to weigh in on where he stands, but as far as I'm concerned, it'll be 10 years of Patrick Mahomes continuing to play at this level before he can challenge Brady, to me. Travis Kelce might arguably be the greatest tight end of all time now. It's between him and Gronk. Personally, I haven't looked at the stats, just eye test. I like Gronk better, but Kelsey's definitely up there. I think it honestly may become consensus now to make Kelce the greatest tight end of all time. Andy Reid, as the 3-time Super Bowl winning coach now, is the best coach in the NFL. And I say that just because of how Bill Belichick has flamed out since Tom Brady left and how he's currently not been able to secure a job. I think it's very easy to say now that Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL. And arguably a top 10 coach of all time now. I really can't think of many coaches who have had the longevity that he's had, who have won 3 Super Bowls, been in a ton of AFC championship games. He's just done it all. And his greatness, I don't know how much longer he'll do it for. He's 65, but definitely somebody that we should appreciate having in the game while he's here. Also, jumping back, one last thing to add about the Brady-Mahomes thing. If Mahomes ever does get to a point where his resume can challenge Tom Brady, what will hurt him the most is that he played Tom Brady twice in the playoffs, and he lost both times. And that's as many MVPs, whatever, that he might win. That's something that he will never be able to erase off his record. And the fact that when you are debating between 1 and 3, 1 and 2, like that level of greatness, you have to nitpick. And I think those 2 head-to-head losses against Tom Brady, and obviously like the teams Brady was on beat Mahomes' teams. Like they didn't play 1-on-1, but people typically don't look into debates like this with much nuance, and history will read it as Brady, Buccaneers defeat Mahomes, Chiefs. So it'll go down like Mahomes lost to Brady twice in the playoffs. And if it's a tie goes to the person who has 2 head-to-head wins. Just thought I would come back to that. But I don't know. It was, as far as Super Bowls go, probably one of the middle tier ones. The first half was bottom tier just because of how boring it was. I mean, when you go into overtime, like the incitement really picked up in the second half. If the whole game could have been like that, it would have gone down as one of the best Super Bowls of all time. And, I'd been joking a lot going into the game that, the NFL script makers want the Chiefs to win just because of Taylor Swift. But there really wasn't a whole lot of moments that it jumped out, and it just felt like the referees were asserting a lot of influence over the game. There were a lot of turnovers in this game, more so than you would expect in a Super Bowl, but it was pretty even. Both teams had 6 penalties. The Chiefs actually lost more yards with their penalties, and there were just the stuff that went against the 49ers. It was just like miraculous screw-ups. Like there was at one point where the 49ers were fielding a punt return, and the ball just happened to hit a 49ers player's ankle to make it a live ball. And another player came and tried to recover it, but it slipped through his hands, so the Chiefs recovered it as a fumble. and they got the ball and like stuff like that. Like it's just what are the odds that it lands on the dude's ankle? The Chiefs, they played like they had butterfingers. I mean, it seemed like all the time they ended up only having one official fumble, but they had so many close calls that it was kind of jarring. Even one of the announcers during the game said that they were playing like the middle of the season Chiefs that were barely playing 500 ball. I mean, the Chiefs really turned it on the second half of the season. Like going in to the season, it just felt like they were a team that had a championship hangover and weren't going to be contenders this year. I was shocked to see how middle of the pack they've played for most of the season. But that's what separates the great championship teams, the dynastic teams, from the rest, is that they know how to turn it on when the pressure gets tight. But, as much as the game was lacking for the most part, the commercials were also kind of lacking too. The kick of destiny, they had that over with so early. That was the dominant commercial going into the Super Bowl, where I figured it would be like a big deal and that they might actually have Gronk come out at halftime and do an actual kick. But they actually did the kick of destiny before the game started, and they had one little snippet of John Cena like in the second quarter commercial reacting to it, and that was that. And that was underwhelming. They also, I did a tribute to Carl Weathers, who passed away last weekend. So that was good. I wasn't sure because I knew he had been in the ads, but I didn't know if they would be able to go in quickly and do something to him to like have a tribute page. And good thing that they were, just because much respect. Carl Weathers was an icon, Rocky, Predator, Mandalorian, Happy Gilmore, just fantastic actor, and he will be missed. And I think the best commercial was the Kawasaki one. You had Stone Cold with the mullet. That's about, and what more could you ask for? It was all downhill after that. So unfortunately for the NFL, that was a first quarter commercial. I was surprised Doritos didn't do one, just because Doritos for years, they were like the king of the Super Bowl commercial. I still remember like Puppy Monkey Baby going viral, or the one where you had little kid and he was like, keep your hands off my mama and keep your hands off my Doritos. Like, I don't know, I felt they haven't had a good Super Bowl commercial in probably like 7 years. But yeah, so final verdict, the Super Bowl was mediocre, started off slow, ended hot, so that balances out in my book. Halftime show, underwhelming. Commercials, underwhelming. So total experience, I would say a 6 out of 5 out of 10 or 6.5 out of 10 Super Bowl. Did wonders for Patrick Mahomes' legacy. He is now the third greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion, and we will see how much farther he can push that. And we will see y'all next week to talk about all the other sports that are going on. So we will see y'all then.